Senator Sanders is on the line. How cool is that? Senator Sanders, welcome back to the program.
Tom, how are you?
I'm great, and I'm even better now that you're on the line with us. You had a great victory yesterday with what's going on in Yemen. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, it wasn't, a victory for me or Senator Lee or Senator Murphy. It really was a victory, I hope, for the people of Yemen. I don't know how many Americans really know the kind of humanitarian disaster that is currently taking place in Yemen as a result of the Saudi-led intervention there in the civil war. But, Tom, we are talking about, unbelievably, in the last several years, 85,000 children who have already starved to death. And you're talking about a nation, according to the United Nations, where millions more may perish from starvation. You're talking about a country where there are 10,000 new cases of cholera every single week. This is all in a country of 28 million people. So what yesterday's vote was about, and I want to thank the grassroots throughout this country for supporting us on this, was making it clear that the United States has got to end its involvement in this Saudi-led war. We cannot allow a despotic regime in Saudi Arabia, led by the Crown Prince there. We cannot let them determine American military policy. And furthermore, we have got to reassert congressional prerogative, constitutional congressional prerogative in the war-making process. As you know, the Constitution makes it very clear that it is the Congress of the United States, not the President of the United States, but Congress that determines whether or not we go to war. And certainly this war in Yemen has not been authorized and, in my view, is unconstitutional.
Now, Donald Trump has been saying that the reason why we need to support the Saudis, both in the war on Yemen and in the charges that Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince, was involved in the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist, the American resident, green card holder, that the reason we have to do this is because it's hundreds of billions of dollars in defense contracts. And yesterday I was, sharing with our listeners and viewers that it turns out that it was between $12 and $15 billion, and that was just a memo of understanding, basically, a tentative deal, and that Jared Kushner walked into the room and said, we've got to make this look like there's a real bond between Saudi Arabia and the United States and the Trump administration, so let's just tell everybody it's $100 billion. And so they just invented this lie. How do we break through the media? And, even if you were to assume that there's some value in saying we'll take money in exchange for lives and humanity, how do you break through the media of the level of mendacity here?
I mean, it really is quite incredible and really unprecedented. Every politician in the world stretches the truth and tries to make his or her point. But that you have a president who is a pathological liar, who uses lies in a way that we have never, ever seen before, virtually every single day. I mean, he's told thousands of lies since he has been president. And I think we just have to do everything we can to expose his big lies. And what I often talk about is, he ran for president, you'll recall, saying that he was going to provide health care to everybody and then work to throw 32 million people off the health care they had. He said his tax bill would not benefit the wealthy. Well, 83% of the benefits go to the top 1%. He said he would not cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. His budget did exactly that. So, we just got to keep harping on the lies. But I think yesterday was also a rebuke. The vote on Yemen was a rebuke to his policies. The idea, it's not only that the lies about the amount of military sales to Saudi Arabia, but more importantly, is that really what American foreign policy is about? Yeah. That we're going to shape our policies dependent upon what country buys military hardware from Boeing or General Dynamics. I think that's not what this country is supposed to be about. And I think what I worry about above and beyond the humanitarian disaster in Yemen, which we have got to focus on. And by the way, what we won yesterday was simply discharging that bill from committee. On Tuesday, I believe, you never know around here in the Senate, I believe we'll have a motion to proceed. And we may not have the 63 votes. Some will, I think, drop out and not be with us. But I think we have a majority, and I would ask your listeners to keep putting pressure on members of the Senate to demand that the United States ends its involvement in that war.
You've got it. And also climate. This is, we just, 88 people were just burned to death in their homes or their backyards because the fossil fuel industry has been lying to us for the better part of 60 years. And now the Republican Party, for the better part of probably 20 or 30 years, lying to us at the behest of the billionaire, these petro-billionaires, and our planet's on fire.
No, and that's exactly right. And I think, from a geopolitical point of view, let's remember that Putin does not believe in climate change while they're sitting on enormous amounts of oil. These people in Saudi Arabia are pumping out an enormous amount of oil, and then we got Trump here. So when you talk about geopolitics around the world, it also has a lot to do with the major oil producers of the world, who, for their reasons, for their short-term profits, are willing to sacrifice the future of this planet. I would mention, by the way, that on Monday night, we are going to be live streaming a town meeting from Washington, D.C., which is going to have some of the leading climate experts in the world with us. And I think we're going to be exploring what is happening. And your point that you just made is absolutely right. What happened in California, where 88 people died, where some 14,000 homes were destroyed, what the scientists are telling us is this is what we will see in increased frequency in years to come, unless we have the guts to stand up to the greed of the fossil fuel industry, transform our energy system away from fossil fuel and to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And, the bad news is that you got an administration which not only lies all the time, they simply don't believe in science, and they're rejecting what 13 agencies of the federal government have told them, let alone the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And we are seeing right now, it's not just California, it's rising sea levels. It is heat waves. It is drought. It is the migration of people already taking place around the world in order to get water and land that they can grow their crops on. And we have got to appreciate that this is one of the great crises, not only facing the United States of America, but facing this entire planet. And we have got to move aggressively to transform our energy system. And as you know, the good news is that we are developing technology, improved technology every day, which will enable us to do that, whether it is the plummeting price of solar, whether it is improved technology in wind, geothermal, and so forth and so on. And what I would also point out that is not stressed often enough is not only, most importantly, that we have to address the climate change crisis, but when we move to transforming our energy system, we can create millions of jobs in energy efficiency and moving toward weatherizing our homes and our buildings. We can create a transportation system that is electrified, and we can create jobs in wind and solar and geothermal and other technologies. But the future of the planet is at stake. And I think, as you were implying, Tom, this takes us back to the tobacco industry. Remember them lying all of the time?
And the asbestos industry that killed my father. Same thing.
Well, now that you mention it, my dad smoked 2 packs as well. That's right.
Yeah.
And died at a young age. And they lied and they lied and they lied, and millions of people died. And now these people at ExxonMobil and elsewhere are lying and lying and obstructing and obstructing. And the media, of course, has been horrendous on this issue, not focusing on this crisis in a way that it should. And now the planet is at stake. So on Monday night, I hope people watch it. It'll be a very good live stream town meeting. We're going to have some great people on it, and we're going to be talking not only about the crisis, but about what we can do to address the crisis, the kind of jobs that we can create, what's going on around the rest of the world. Some really good things are happening. And at the end of the day, if we are smart as a people and a government, we can lower the cost of fuel for people if we put an emphasis on solar technology, et cetera.
That's great. There's so much going on in this area. My book, The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight, we just Random House just released the new edition with all new climate change information last month, and a movie that Leo DiCaprio is producing that I'm in is going to be on climate change, is going to be premiering January 5th in Norway, in Oslo. The government is going to be projecting it on the inside of the Capitol buildings.
Wow.
You know, it's some cool stuff going on. And in your world, how do people get to your to the video, the stream that you're going to be running?
Well, they go right to our social media. It'll be live streamed on our Facebook as well as a number of other live stream Facebook.
Great. So check out Bernie Sanders' Facebook page. And before you go, Senator, I believe you have a new book out, don't you? I have a copy of it here.
Thank you. It's called Where We Go From Here. Yeah. It talks about what I and other progressives have been doing over the last 2 years to oppose this outrageous Trump agenda and his behavior and his efforts to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we come from, and talks about my views about where we want to go from here.
That is spectacular. Senator Bernie Sanders, thanks so much for being with us, Senator. It's
okay. Thank you, Tom.
Always great having you on the program. Senator Bernie Sanders, his website, sanders.senate.gov. You can tweet him at SenSanders, SenSanders. And, boy, a lot going on, and Bernie's right at the center of a lot of it. We'll be back. Jeff Merkley is going to drop by in the next hour. I'll be picking up your phone calls in just a second. And, you know, on we go. More of the news of the day, too. It sure looks to me like Trump is going down. Do you think he can weasel out of this one?